Hello everyone, this is Afsana, your subject faculty for Business Research Methods. Now we are going to see the topic sampling. Okay, actually we have done two types of sampling in the class. Just a recap about that, an in-depth explanation about different methods of sampling. Okay, so sampling is a process of collecting data for your research. So when you're collecting a data for your related to your research, you need to have a specific population. Depends on the population, you're choosing a sample. Sample is set of people from your population. One structure or one piece from the whole cake can be defined as a sample in the simple meaning. Okay, so one sample from the research population. Unit, what is the number of unit you will be doing to collect that particular sample, and sample size is exact number of the sample size. Sample frame are the one which you are designing it, how you are doing it, how you are going to choose that 100 sample which you have decided to collect from the population. That frame, you need to define that frame, that becomes your sample frame. So we have seen different methods of sampling. So we have probability sampling is nothing but random sampling, non-random is nothing but non-probability sampling. Random sampling is nothing but probability sampling. We have three different types of random sampling, is also nothing but probability sampling. Simple random sampling, where you will have a proper structure when you are collecting a data. When you are choosing your sample out of 32 population in the class, how much data you're going to collect as a sample. Now you're going to choose 10. When it is 10, simply you're choosing 10 people from the class becomes your simple random sampling. Stratified sampling, we have proportionate and disproportionate, choosing girls and boys and then having a proportionate of 1% or 2%. That becomes your proportionate, non-proportionate. Stratified, you are dividing the groups. From those groups, you're choosing the required number or required unit of sample which you have thought of. And you have cluster sampling. Cluster sampling, you have two different types, that is single stage and multi-stage. Okay, single stage, only one stage you will have, and you have different groups. So example, I have to collect data on students level of satisfaction of a student population towards a particular brand. So when I say particular brand, I need to choose a single stage. If I am choosing single stage, I am having only one stage of collecting data. For example, simple random or stratified with different zones. Okay, different levels or different zones. If I choose, that becomes my single stage. Multiple stage, first I'm choosing out of 32, I'm choosing only 10. In that 10, simply I'm choosing 10. In that 10, I am having girls 5, boys 5. Like that. When I am choosing that, or one girl, one boy, only 2, or 2 boy, 2 girl, only 2. So I am using different stages of random sampling in my multi-stage random sampling. So we have something called non-random also. Here you have second type, non-random sampling. Here you have quota sampling, judgmental sampling, accidental sampling, convenience sampling, snowball sampling, and export. Quota sampling depends on one particular zone. You are referring another person you're collecting the data only through reference. That becomes your quota sampling. Judgmental sampling, you're just assuming, depends on your assumption, that particular crowd can also answer the questions whichever you have. That becomes your judgmental sampling. Accidental sampling, accidentally you meet someone and suddenly you find they can also answer your questions. Those people becomes your accidental sampling. Convenience sampling, you randomly send to all your WhatsApp number whatever questionnaire you have made. That becomes your convenience sampling. Now snowball sampling. Snowball sampling, you for example, you want to reach celebrities. You are doing a data collection for the attitude or perception towards or attitude of celebrities, anything such questions if you are planning to ask, or if the research is on celebrities alone if we take, then you'll not be knowing everyone. So what you do, you're referring one person once you collect data. I think one other example I can give, entrepreneurs as an example. So you know one entrepreneur and then you decided that you'll do research on that particular topic, and you know 4 people in your network. That people will refer other people because they have network. So first one you're reaching, A level you're reaching, then A is referring to B level, another 4 people in B level. Likewise, when you are reaching randomly, non-randomly, through the first level of people whom you know, that becomes your snowball. You're just hitting one, that person gives you another reference, hits another. Likewise, you're collecting data, that becomes your snowball. Expert sampling are only with the experts, which is who are into that particular research. You are using that particular sample. So these are the different sampling. Here another one is mixed sampling, where you will be using 2 different. One is convenient, as per your convenient, you're sending all the data to everyone, and then clustering up, you are doing that second level of clustering the data, or you're stratifying, depends on the age group. So when you are filtering up, that time you are doing, that becomes your mixed sampling. Okay, so continuing with this, we have a short video. Please do watch. In that video you will find the major important sampling methods which is used in the research. So when you are doing a research, when you are collecting sample, that time you can utilize any of that method to collect your samples. So it should be random sampling, which will give you a proper research. So but you always should choose a random sampling because it has the structure towards it. If you are choosing non-random, you're simply sending to everyone in your contact. After that, one filter has to be done. Either of random sampling or mixed sampling has to be made. Okay, thank you. Fine. So please do watch the video, continue to it. After doing this, you have another video of questionnaire. Then you need to create a questionnaire of your own research topics which you have selected and submitted to me. That you need to prepare your questionnaire and start collecting your sample for the next session. When you are coming for the next week session, you guys have to submit a questionnaire. Today you have to submit a questionnaire for your attendance, and next session when you're coming, you need to have a sample using any of the sampling method. One, you have to submit a questionnaire today. Second, you need to collect the sample of 30 minimum for your research area which you have selected. Okay, thank you. Yeah, now you can continue watching the video which explains you the important sampling methods which is used in the research. So you will have some detailed explanation in that, so you will understand well. Okay, please watch it. Thank you.
Recall that a population refers to the group of things that we want information about, and a sample refers to part of the population that we take out to examine and draw conclusions from. In this video, we will be looking at the different methods of obtaining a sample. But first, let's look at the types of biased samples. Biased samples occur when one or more parts of the population are favored over others. The two types of biased samples include the convenience sample and the voluntary response sample. A convenience sample only includes people who are easy to reach. If this is our population, and a researcher comes along to interview people, then he would only talk to the people that are closer to him to be part of the sample. This is a biased sampling method because not everyone in the population has an equal chance of being part of the sample. Only people that are of convenience to the researcher will be interviewed. Now, a voluntary response sample consists of people that have chosen to include themselves in the sample. So the researcher lets people come to him. This is a biased sampling method because people with a strong interest for the survey topic are the ones who are most likely to respond, whereas the people who don't feel as strongly about the topic may not even care to respond. Remember that a good sample is one that is representative of the entire population, and it gives each thing an equal chance of being chosen. When you have these conditions, you have what is known as an unbiased sample. We will be looking at three different types: stratified random sampling, multistage sampling, and simple random sampling. The most basic type of sampling is the simple random sample, also known as an SRS. Since an SRS is unbiased, each individual has an equal chance of being chosen to be surveyed. In other words, to be part of the sample. You can think of an SRS as putting names into a hat and selecting N of them. So if I wanted a sample size of 6, I would select 6 papers and come up to the randomly chosen people to interview them. For a stratified random sample, we take the population and we divide it into something called a strata. Strata refers to the groups of similar people. Within each stratum, we take an SRS and combine the SRSs to get the full sample. For example, we could take an SRS of 2 people from each group so that we get the total of 6 people. A stratified random sample is good for making sure that whoever is administering the sample gets in contact with each kind of group. The last type of sampling is called multistage sampling. For multistage sampling, we use a combination of 2 or more simple random samples. As the name suggests, multistage sampling means you have to go through different stages to find where your sample comes from. For example, if we have 3 groups, stage 1 could be selecting which group will be picked using an SRS. Let's say that I picked out group 1. Then that means I would only look at group 1. Then for stage 2, I would do another SRS to get the 6 random people. We go through different stages of simple random samples to get the actual sample, and this is why this is called multistage sampling. I'd like to point out that instead of putting names in a hat, there's another way to pick things randomly. We can use something called the random digits table. The random digits table consists of a long string of random numbers, and it can help us do an SRS. To use it, I would first have to label each member of the population with a number. We have 30 people in this population, so I will label each person from 1 to 30. Notice how I have written 0, 1 instead of just 1. Doing this helps us use the random digits table. Since each label has 2 digits, we will read the string of numbers 2 digits at a time. So let's say I want a sample size of 4. We will use the random digits table to randomly select 4 people. The first number on the table is 19, so person 19 will be part of the sample. The second number is 22, so person 22 will be part of the sample. The third number is 39, but our sample size doesn't go up to 39, so we will ignore it. We will also ignore 50 and 34, but we will keep number 5. We will also ignore 75, 62, and 87, but we will keep number 13. As a result, these are the people we would survey.